So my name is Girma Bishaw, originally from Ethiopia. I have one intro I usually use. I know you will forget my name, so I'll tell you what it means. It means majesty, so you can say Your Highness when you say it. I'll start my talk with a story about a guy who I met in New York. His name is American. He used to live in Chicago and moved to New York to plant a church. And he planted a church in Brooklyn, New York. And he had all the finances, supports, and kind of the networks. So he planted the church, and the church failed after a year and a half. And he was obviously devastated and discouraged, and it's kind of a young family. So he started studying, but at the same time started just to walk around and engage with the community. He just say, I'm going to work to his wife and go out to the community, just hang around, just talk to people and have tea or coffee or visit places. And he started to, as he do that, he started to have this conversation with this homeless guy called Juan. He's from South America. And as we just started meeting him, and they kind of meet every week. They really developed a friendship. And then after a while, a year or so, he became aware of the, get to know the community very well. And then he started to ask a question. What kind of church should I plant for one to come? What kind of church should I plant for one to come? That actually changed his whole perspective, approach, and that year of interacting, just be there and really recognizing and realizing and hearing and discerning and seeing helped him to see what was invisible for him when he came to when he first came to Berkeley. So I just wanted to share kind of what was visible for him, what was invisible for him, and became visible for him, and how that actually helped him to plant a church. That church again, the church what he planted the second time prospered, and one came to know the Lord, and he's actually leading a church now as a pastor. That homeless guy. And what was that kind of, so what did he learn from that journey of year of interacting, engaging with that community? The first thing is really the tears of the community became visible to him. Where you see tears and pains, there you have a ministry. And, in the city context, tears and pains wear suits. And kind of really maybe live in a glamorous houses. So how do you discern that tear? How do you hear the cry in the city and the town that you're living in? And that became visible to him. And one became visible to him. This homeless guy, this Spanish guy in the street became visible. Before, he was not visible to him at all. So that he became visible to him, and he needed to immerse himself in the community and recognize and agonize with its needs and struggles. So he needed to learn the importance of being with, not do for. Sometimes we plant churches kind of where we are keen to do something for people rather than be with people. And the question we need to ask therefore with Robert is, what kind of church should we plant so that the community might come? And the second, the community perception of church was visible to him. How the church was perceived in the community. In that city, the church was perceived as one other organizations who comes to the community to sell something. There are several organizations and institutions coming to the community seeking the attention of people to sell something. So the church became seen as one of those organizations who are coming to sell something, and not as an organization who are interested in the people as they are, kind of really being interested in them and to know them, to hear their story, interest in their life, in whom they are, kind of who they are and what can they offer. In other words, to affirm their humanity. So he learned to treat them as a subject instead of as an object to be read. And that kind of embracing those communities and really recognizing the good in that community helped him to present the gospel in a different way to those people. And the third visibility was the role of friendship in church planting became visible to him. People are suspicious of all other authorities in our time, aren't they? All authorities have been in question. It is actually the friendship that has a lasting currency and kind of common currency within our communities. And the approach of, Jesus is an example for us, his humanity, kind of hanging around with sinners and eating and, kind of validating their humanity and being there and kind of really giving them that pride of themselves and being a friend of sinners, being a friend and making himself available was very instrumental for his second phase of church planting for Robert. The four things that became visible to him was the changing nature of the community he was in. Brooklyn, New York is changing. It's becoming diverse. And the diversity was not visible to him when he first planted. I think this is in my opinion, is very, very important for us in Britain, in the London context, in the big cities in Britain. Our cities are becoming very diverse. And we need, so we work together, people work together in a diverse environment. And it's fitting for them to worship in a diverse context as well. But one of the things I just want to say when it comes to planting churches for a diverse community and kind of a multicultural church is that there is a pressure from kind of external pressure to diversify. It's from the culture, the bigger culture, or kind of voices, really, kind of really pressurizing churches and Christian institutions to diversify. I don't think that's a healthy approach. I don't think we should try to change our institutions, our churches, and diversify because of that pressure. That would have a kind of a really adverse effect in terms of, people are resented to change. Why would you change? That kind of thing. And also, you might be interested to reach a particular group of people, and those people might choose to have a monocultural church. But whatever we do when it comes to planting multicultural churches, the conviction, we have to have a theological conviction. We have to work from the theological conviction, understanding that diversity is a good idea, and it actually glorifies him and reveals his glory. So there must be inner theological conviction that needs to drive us. So people need to have that room to get there. And I don't think we should change because of external pressure. So people, so we need to, really look out and see the diverse nature of our community and work with that diverse community to plant churches. Now, as I said, you might be wanting to reach a particular community who might find it difficult to be in the diverse kind of setup. And we need to consider that struggle very seriously for people. And we don't have to be a multicultural church to live a multicultural life or to connect with others. We can connect kind of, in my experience in Islington, I used to lead Ethiopian church for about 17 or 18 years. It's Ethiopian Eritrean church. It's a very monocultural ethnic church, and it's very exclusive. So looking at the diverse nature of our community, it became really uncomfortable for me to be in that kind of situation, not really connecting and being kind of really sharing the gospel with others and being a blessing to the wider community. And that made me to connect with other churches in the local area and start to work with, churches from South America, from other ethnicities, as well as white churches in the community. And that coming together in the local context with the leaders. So when I started to take that step, there was a kind of suspicion. There was kind of really, having that network and kind of relationship was a bit difficult. But as we spend time together and as we have that encounter among the pastors from different backgrounds, we started to see that our previous perception was wrong about each other, because encounter changes everything. It's not as you think it is actually when you meet people, and that encounter and relationship in a pastoral level gave us kind of a vision to do something in the community together. And as we do that, while keeping our own churches, we started to live together in a very kind of in a diverse context. That became a witness to the communities. People start to ask, "What is you guys? What is happening? Why are you in this kind of brotherly love and relationship? What's going on?" And we were able to share that the gospel to people. So that inspired some churches to open up, and that inspired strengthened a new plant, among us. And for the last 5 years, we have this Life Together group and kind of ministry in Islington. In that. So that Robert's perception and kind of understanding of the multicultural context changed his approach, and his church was eventually grown. So just to kind of summarize, that has been my journey. What I heard from Robert has been really what happened in my life in Islington. Not necessarily the church I was planting failed, but in terms of engaging with the wider community and really making the gospel relevant to that community became possible when I started to those things where I just mentioned to you was becoming visible and interact and work together with multicultural leaders in our city. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.